Hello there dear friends. So in this part of the video I'll be covering on how are we able to render through an array and how are we and what I meant by that is that how are we make an array to be used as a repeating set of elements so that we don't have to stick with hard-coded data. So this will be really helpful when we are using API. So API will be the one that we will be using in our API context part in this particular React courses. But always we need to make sure that we need to know the basics of how are we able to render through an array. So rendering through an array basically making use of every single item you will find inside an array. So that's what rendering through an array means. So first of all let's create an array. So then in this case I would like to go go here in the just right above return here. Here I will just declare an array called just array. It's a short form of array, and then in this case I would like to let array equals to a data here, a set of data which is supposed to be like item 1 like this, item 1, and I like to have like 5 different items like this, and in this case I like to go like this, and a couple of times. So I'm just gonna create like 5 items like just like this. Okay, so in this case it's gonna be item 1 here, and here will be 2, here is gonna be 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so right now we have just made an array of which is called array here. So what we're gonna do here, I would like to make sure that I would like to display each and every single item of an array in the form of HTML div like this. For example, what I meant was, like, let's say this is the div here. I would like to display like a p tag which says the first one, which is item 1, and I like to have like something like this, by the way, like this, and just like a couple of the same items, like around 5 times like this. So basically, instead of like hard coding it like this, instead of, let's say, give it a save and let's check the the browser here. As you can see here, there are like 5 items that are being repeated like this, but I wouldn't like to show like this, and that's the reason why we have an array. So in the array will be able to make we can actually use array just to do something like this using map function, which is like already a pre-built JavaScript function, which will be very useful for most of the cases in React in React development as a whole. So how are we able to render through these items with that particular map function that I've just said? So first of all, let's go and delete all of this here. The first thing is that we would like to have the array here, and that array should be followed by the map function, which is dot map. And map function is actually it is a function, so you need to have a parenthesis, open and closing parenthesis like this, and inside this map function you can find another it's a function. You'll find another one. For example, inside this function you will find it can be any function like this, by the way. So but then I would like to stick with arrow function. So arrow function won't be having any of the name of the function. It will only be having an arrow, and also it will be having like open and closing curly braces. And before that, we need to wrap this whole thing inside a curly braces as well, so that it actually runs this particular function. And there you go. Now right now what I just did is that this is the name of the array. So I would like to render through each and every single item inside this array using map. So inside the functions, map functions which is passed as a function here, parameter function. Inside here you will find the this is where this particular parameter is where we're gonna use. We will be having the object for every single item here. For example, this every single element of the array. So in this case, this item 1, this is what map will pass the into its function as a parameter. So I'll just gonna say item like this. Okay, so basically item is where where map function will be passing the element of the array, ARR array, and it will just like pass it inside this parameter. And that's the first thing here. And also what you can also do here is that we can actually return the value of the item like this. Okay, so in this case, this is how a basic way of actually mapping through an array would work. Let's go and click save and all, and there you go. What you just did here, you just like made it, you just rendered through each and every single item like this, and then you just one shot returned in this way. But this doesn't look nice because it's just like you are just like taking all the array and just displaying the array, which is not a good way to actually render through an array. So there are many ways. This is like the basic way. This is like the first step to get started for rendering an array. So what we can do here is that we can actually make a p tag, just like how I just now did, where we are able to have like a list of items. And in this case, I would like to put p tag like this. I mean, sorry, not this. A p tag like this. And this is where we're going to place, inside the p tag is where we will be placing the items here. And of course, since this item is coming directly from here, we need to make it into curly braces like this. And what you also, let's give it a check here. Okay, so what we just did here, we just like return the same this particular item, I mean the p tag here, for 5 times, because there's 5 items inside our array, for 5 times, and every single time we were taking the data that's coming directly from the array. So that's what we did here. And that's the basic step of how are we able to render through an array. So that's the first step here. There are more ways than this. I mean, the next step will be how are we able to pass this particular array. How are we able to do like how to say, how are we able to pass this particular array item, which is item here, inside components. For example, let's say if I have a component called home, and in that case I must be able to pass the props as a props here, and inside there where we will be having items, and in this case that we can actually show the data of an item here. So let's go and create one. In this case, instead of home, I would like to have a different component. In this case I would like to go for list. So list is where we're going to pass it. Oh sorry, there's no items, this is item, and we're going to create another new folder just to store components. In this case my component is going to be called list.js. Okay, so inside list.js I'm just going to create a functional component like RAFCE, then click OK, and this is where I'll be receiving the props. So the props is where we'll be having the instead of props I can also name it as item also, because it can be any way I can actually name it. For example, item, or you can also say prop, because it doesn't matter what name do you like to make it. In this case I would like to go here, and inside the bracket here I would like to say props. So it's just basically what, oh sorry, this is prop, I will say props here. So make sure you have named it correctly, props and props here. And of course, I mean, since list is actually a self-closing tag, so we need to have like a slash here so that it closes its own tag. And also, not to forget, let's import the the component called list. So import list that comes from components/list, and make sure your naming is all matched. Okay, so right now we are already imported the component called list here. So what we're going to do inside list here, because we are already passing the items as a prop here, and we should receive it as a props here. So what you're going to do here, we're just going to make it like just gonna display it, display it in like this. Because what we're going to do, we're just going to passing it from, we're just passing the array, I mean the map the array's content into a component and that component will be running a couple of times, like 5 times, because there are 5 items here. So that's how are we able to do that. Let's save it all. So let's go to our browser, and there you go. So every single item you see here is each and every single of it is a list component, because it's rendering 5 times. Okay, so and that's the way how are we able to make use of map function in React. So this is like the most ultimate like fundamentals of using, how do you say, how do are we able to render through an array, because currently array is just a simple way of learning on how to render through JSON API, because that what you will be receiving in the next upcoming videos. So JSON API basically is like something like this, but it's in the form of API format. So yeah, I think this will be your best introduction video for rendering through an array. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end, and hope we'll be meeting in our next video. Till then, thanks.